of it, actually. My mother was born in Berlin, so I have a special affection for Germany. We never learned German at home, I have to say. It was after the war. Things were very difficult. German wasn't the most popular language to grow up with in the UK. You might not be surprised to learn. Anyway, it's a real delight to be here. My name's Robin Sherborne from the UK. Originally, I arrived in this country first in 1991, and I worked with the National Planning Commission for 4 years. So we're talking about NDP 6 now. Well, I worked on NDP 1. And in fact, I worked on the Transitional National Development Plan before NDP 1 was even born. So I go right back, and I've observed this economy since I arrived. I write about it, I publish books on it, I publish regular articles. You can find all my work on my website, economy.com.na. You can find a lot more there. So I've got an awful lot to say about this economy. So you'll see where I come from if you go onto my website. Okay, so that's my background. I like to think I'm an independent economist. I don't have a particular axe to grind. I'm not out to get government. I don't support a particular business. I'm not in the pockets of monopoly capital or the oil and gas industry or anything like that. So I like to think I look at the data, I look at the facts, I talk to a lot of people in government, outside government, and I reach my own conclusions, not being told what to write, what to think by anyone else. And I suspect that's why Harold invited me along today. Now, you might get more than you bargained for, Harold, because I've got quite a lot to say. When Harold first mentioned this to me, I said, Harold, I'm not coming to another whinge fest of disgruntled whites and Germans and foreigners, thank you very much. I've been to enough of those over my 35 years. And he said, no, no, Robin, there's going to be some whinging, but there's also going to be constructive interaction between the private sector and people in government responsible for very important tasks. And I have to say, Harold, you have pulled that one off, and Benita. I was skeptical, but I'm a convert. I think today has been a fantastic session. I'm not very good at sitting through speeches. I spent the whole of Thursday morning sitting through speeches at the launch of the Cleanergy green hydrogen plant, and it was almost enough to last me for the whole month. But I have to say, I've enjoyed today, and I think the interaction has been great. It's been critical, but respectful. And I think we've made some progress, and I look forward to future sessions. I've sat in many such fora over the years, over my 35 years, where everyone comes in with their fixed positions. They're all very formal, they're all very respectful. Everyone agrees with everyone else, and then we go away and nothing happens. That has to change. Sorry, that has to change. The president said, not business as usual. Let's see if she means it. Okay. So you told me not to be aggressive. You told me not to be rude. So I'm going to be neither of those things, but I am going to be very blunt because I think the time for talking is over. I've sat through these sorts of workshops for 35 years and we still haven't learned the lessons. So I'm going to make about a dozen points, and I don't care if you like them or don't like them, because this is my honest view on the basis of 35 years of research and thinking about this economy, okay? You can come up to me afterwards and tell me you violently disagree with me, but I'm just going to go for it because I think we're too far down the road now to just pussyfoot around important issues. Okay, so let me first start off on a positive note. I'd like to thank the forum. I'd like to thank Roland for his presentation. There's very little I disagree with in what he said. I'd like to thank NIPDB and all the other participants who have come here today. I think that's fantastic. What I'm going to say now is not intended as any sort of personal criticism of any individual. I try to focus on policy, not on individuals, although individuals, I think, in this country play a very important role in shaping policy, I have to say. So the first point I want to make is on the importance of investment. Now, Roland made this very, very clear in his wonderful presentation. Investment is important. If we want to grow tomorrow, if we want to create jobs tomorrow, we have to be investing today. But the sad fact is, our private sector in this country, if you strip out oil and gas exploration, if you strip out mining investment, investment is on the decline. It's been on a long-term decline. This isn't a one-year phenomenon or COVID phenomenon, whatever. It's been happening since at least the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009. That, for me, is the key issue in economic policy in Namibia. That's my key issue. It doesn't seem to be other people's key issue, I'm sorry to say. The people who are responsible for our economy have not recognized this important fact. And without recognizing that, we can't begin to decide how to reverse that long-term trend. So that is very important. Private sector investment outside those sectors is on a long-term decline. And the question is why? Why? Why aren't we asking ourselves this important question? So that has to be clear. The second point I want to make is foreign investment. Now, I've studied foreign investment in this economy since I arrived in 1991. It's incredibly important. There isn't a sector of this economy that hasn't been, I think, positively benefited by foreign direct investment, FDI. So I think foreigners are important. That's recognized in our constitution here, and that's recognized by how things have panned out so far. I think they play an incredibly important role, but I really question, I have to say, whether we want these foreign investors here. I talk to an awful lot of people, as I say, not only private sector people, but government people. And there is still a deep-seated skepticism of foreign investors. They're only coming here to steal either our gold or our sunlight or our jobs or even our women. So that message hasn't really got through. We need these foreign investors. If we're going to boost private sector investment in this country, we need foreign investment to play that important role in doing that, okay? So we need to decide, we must stop this ambiguous attitude towards foreign investment, and we must say, we must commit ourselves, yes, foreign investment is important, yes, we want it. And we want quality foreign investment. We don't want the dodgy cowboys who come in and bribe their way to starting businesses here. The good guys go away. If our systems aren't good and our systems are corrupt, we'll end up what the economists call adverse selection. We get the wrong people in, and that gives foreign investment an even worse name. Sorry, I'm going to grab a bottle of water because I'm getting quite excited here. And I've still got a few more points to make. Thanks. Okay, so we need to be clear on that. Do we want all these whites and foreigners knocking around in this country or not? I would say we do, but I could perfectly understand people who say we don't. We want to keep everything for our own people. I have to say it's not a zero-sum game. My own view is that foreign direct investment creates opportunities for Namibians through the supply chain, through skills, training, through a whole range of other things. So I'm unapologetically pro foreign direct investment, but I don't think policymakers up there share the same view. How do we promote investment? Well, we certainly don't do it by through more government, more laws, more regulations, more regulators, and more government spending. I'm sorry, we don't. Government isn't going to solve this problem. Just look at the statistics. It's the private sector has to create these, as Roland says, sustainable long-term jobs. We can't get away from that fact. So how do we promote investment? How do we raise private sector investment? Well, again, this really isn't rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's very simple, and it doesn't involve spending a lot of money either. We can't say, oh, there's no money, there's no capacity, it means actually doing less, but doing less much more clearly. On the question of taxation, that's come up. We want a competitive, internationally, not just Southern Africa, internationally competitive tax regime. We want clear property rights. Not when companies turn up and get given a piece of paper by the minister saying, these are the private partners you need to take on board if we're going to give you the petroleum exploration license. These aren't written down in policies, but it's happening there. I don't think I'm the only one who understands that, who knows what's going on. Property rights must be clear. Profit repatriation. We don't seem to like these foreigners making money here, but that is the sine qua non of foreign direct investment. They need to make money, as someone pointed out, possibly Roland, and they need to be able to repatriate that money back to HQ relatively easily. So profit repatriation. Dispute resolution. That's another thing. When they come into dispute with whoever it is, government over licensing or others, it must be a clear and time-bound process that leads to resolution of that dispute. Land availability, work permits, labor regulations. I could go on, but it's not rocket science. We know what needs to be done. There are plenty of successful examples around the world that we could learn from. No, not South Africa. No, not Zimbabwe. Other countries, the Singapores, the islands, the Estonias, I could go on, okay? It's not that we need to reinvent any wheels here. True, we need to tailor it to our circumstances, but the lessons are all out there. So I've been saying this for 35 years. I don't understand why people aren't listening to this message. I get very frustrated, sometimes even a bit aggressive and a bit rude, Benita. But I'll calm down. I'm shaking now. It's like, how do you influence people? You can be smooth like Benita. You can say sort of, oh, yes, minister, yes, minister. But does the minister take any notice? Or you can shout and scream like Robin Sherborne. Maybe the minister notices that a little bit more. I was at a lunch the other day with some Euro parliamentarians who really upset me as well. And I got really aggressive and rude. And then they were off their phones suddenly and listening to me. I thought, yes, that's what I want. Why do I have to be rude and objectionable in order to get people's attention? But that's how things work, I'm afraid. Sorry, Benita. Okay. So I don't think it's rocket science. We know what needs to be done, but it's a system-wide approach we need to take. I'll come back onto it. So next point. You can't force investors to invest. You can't force them. Namibians will say, some Namibians say, we'll lure Total Energies in, they'll invest their 15 billion, and then we'll tell them what to do. Then they won't be able to escape because they've invested the 15 billion. Very clever. And that might be true. But the thing is, people out there are clever as well, and investors are clever. They'll say, oh, look what government's doing to Total Energies. If we come in, they might do the same thing to us, so we're not going to come in. Okay, people are clever. They're rational, as someone said. So you can't force them to invest. You have to encourage them to invest, and they won't invest if all they're going to get is a return that's the same as if they had invested in government bonds in their own country. They take risk. They want to be adequately compensated for that, yeah? And we shouldn't be upset when they make money. We should be glad. We don't need, let me jump to this point. Investment almost sells itself. Okay, we encouraged in Ohorongo. They're trying to get out now. Why are they trying to get out? Because we didn't live up to our promises. I'm not being paid by Ohorongo to say that. They'd be horrified to hear me say that, but I observe, and we need to learn the lessons. Other investors will look at that. They invested on the basis of certain promises. Those promises weren't kept, and now these guys are trying to bail out, and now they're struggling to bail out. It's like marriage. It's like marriage. And I speak as someone who was divorced once. Okay, so you can't enforce investors. You can't force investors, not local, not foreign investors, to invest. You have to incentivize them, okay? And that means profits, and that means systems and all the rest of it, okay? So it's not something evil, it's something good and something sustainable. We heard about all these forums that have taken place over the years. I mean, I haven't been invited to all of them, I have to say, and for good reason. You can reach your own conclusions, but which business people are going to go to some talk shop organized by NIPDB, sorry to be so blunt, if they don't know that there are going to be results from all that talking? Business people don't have time, especially small business people. They don't have time to attend all these forums and talk endlessly and have nice finger lunches. They've got to get on and run their businesses. If they know that a forum actually delivers results, that there's some action at the end of it, then the attitudes will change. But we haven't managed to create that forum yet. And I've sat on many of these forums. Either they're just talking shops, or they're forums for special pleading by certain well-placed business people who just want to get something for their own business, not something for the country as a whole. So we need to rethink that. And that's why I think today's forum has been a welcome breath of fresh air. Next point. Who said this? Don't do stupid shit. Well, it was President Obama. And he's absolutely right. And that goes for investment promotion too. We are constantly shooting ourselves in the foot in this country. We are putting out there ill thought through legislation, which then hangs over the investment environment for years, if not decades. I can think of examples that have lasted decades. And investors don't know, okay, so I'm going to have to cede 50% of my business to unnamed previously disadvantaged Namibians, or am I going to face this or that? They don't know. They don't know the rules of the game. We're doing that all the time. We're doing it at the moment. The last draft of the Namibia Investment Promotion Act I saw seemed to suggest that the Minister of then Trade and Industry, I think it was, could sort of order investors around. You will invest this much in this sector, create this many jobs for this over this period of time. It doesn't work like that. No investor's going to come and invest under those circumstances. Business is constantly changing day by day. Who can tell if Donald Trump is going to impose a tariff or President Putin is going to invade another country or whatever? No one knows that in advance. So we have to be flexible. You can't pin investors down like that. So don't do stupid shit. That's my advice. I echo President Obama's words. I think Namibia will sell itself if word gets out. I can't remember the last time I spoke to a foreign investor who sang Namibia's praises and said, "Oh, I think this is a great country to invest in. I got this permit quickly. I got that work permit quickly. The tax regime was clear. Now I'm running my business successfully and everything's happy and I'm happy." I can't remember talking to a foreign investor like that. Okay, investors tend to be a little more on the whinge fest side of things. There are always problems. But that's what we want to hear. And as soon as we get a few of these investors, they're going to tell other investors, we don't need an NIPDB. Word will get out. Hey, Namibia is the best place in the world to invest. The government's efficient, the tax rate is competitive, dispute resolution is fine, property rights are clear. You know, NIPDB wasn't responsible, sorry, Nangula, for the oil and gas rush. NIPDB wasn't responsible for mining investment in this country. Word gets out. These are relatively small communities. And if we get it right, we won't be able to stop the amount of investment coming into this country. I've no doubt about that. Corruption. We didn't have Benita very skillfully, I thought, raise the question of corruption in one of her sessions. Come on, guys. Am I the only one who reads the newspapers in this country? It's a huge issue. I know it's a huge issue. My Namibian friends tell me, and all my entrepreneur friends tell me. Everyone knows it's going on, but no one's doing anything about it. That's going to kill our investment climate if it hasn't done already. Because foreign investors who don't know the lay of the land here and don't know who the people who are in and who the people who are out are, they don't know. So they come along and they sort of try and make their way as best as possible. And they don't know the guy whose name is on this piece of paper that the minister shoved over the desk at their last meeting is in fact the key to opening up their investment here. And then the politics changes, and then this person's out in the cold suddenly, and they're left with a partner who doesn't deliver. So corruption is a massive issue. Politicization, everything's political, we know that. Economics is political. But we need to keep we'll never do this completely. We need to keep politics out of investment because then it gets very, very murky indeed. Policy uncertainty. We are on the verge of attracting tens of billions of US dollars of investment in this country, and we don't have a Foreign Investment Act in place. How is that possible? I won't talk to you about all the other things we don't have in place. But if we want this investment to flow, we need that act. Investors need to know the rules of the game. Now, there might be a few investors, the big boys, the really big boys, who can take care of themselves. They don't care what the Foreign Investment Act says because they're so big and they've always got other options. They can go elsewhere. They can essentially tell government what to do. But most investment, and most of the investors we really want, the guys who are going to create the jobs, this one Total, the Venus project, $15 billion US dollars, going to create 600 direct jobs, 600 for that massive investment. That's not going to create the mass of the jobs that the people need. It's going to be all these smaller people. Guys we've encouraged over to relocate from South Africa, or Zimbabwe, or Angola, or wherever else. You know, there's a lot of people interested out there, but only if we get our act together. But policy uncertainty, if they don't know the rules of the game, and I'm talking about, yes, the NEAB. What happened to the NEAB? Who's read all the manifesto and NDP documents? What does it say about NEAB? You do a word search. NEAB suddenly disappeared. In 2016, everyone was going to have to see 25% of their business to people. Now, 2025, NEAB's disappeared. What is its status? Is it suddenly going to rear its ugly head again? I don't know. I can't tell you. So policy certainty is absolutely key. So we need to get these key policies in place. I think bureaucracy and red tape, we've discussed that today. There's a lot we can do there, but clearly we're building, and I've watched since 1991, we've built more and more regulators, more and more regulation, more and more laws. The answer isn't more of that. It's less of that, and more streamlined versions of that, I'm afraid. And added to that, we need more clear rules rather than discretion. You give a minister discretion or a permanent secretary discretion. I'm not sure, shall I, shan't I? Oh, it depends what mood I'm feeling in on the day or who slips me the next $1 million. we want clear rules as much as possible. Now, of course, you can't do that fully, but we need to opt for the rules rather than discretion. They must be sector neutral. I'm not into, and I speak as someone who wrote NDP 1 and at the TNDP, we're not picking winners in this country. We don't know what the winners are. 5 years ago, none of us knew what green hydrogen was. I'm still not sure if it's a winner, but government, it is not, government's just not capable. Government's nowhere, and this isn't a criticism of the Namibian government, they don't know what the future holds. They don't know what the next technology is, what the next big thing around the corner is, yeah? So we need to keep things open. We mustn't put all our eggs in a green hydrogen basket or a nuclear basket, whatever. We must create an investment climate that encourages the best of anything that happens to work, basically. So sector and technology neutral, I would say. Okay, I'm coming to the end. You'll be very glad to know. If we want to do intelligent investment promotion, there's a sort of passive investment promotion. Here we are, come and get us. We're in Namibia, whoever wants to come. You know, we can do investment promotion that way, and that works. Sorry, yeah, I like to use my hands as well. But there's intelligent investment promotion, which is more like, oh, we have this salt industry in Namibia. Let's go and see what other people are doing with their salt around the world. Let's go to Taiwan or China or wherever and say, oh, these guys are actually creating a lot more value added and jobs from the smaller salt resource they have than we are. Why is that? What can we do to move in that direction? Now, to do that sort of investment promotion, you need expertise in the investment promotion agency. These can't just be general people, they must be experts or experts that can be hired in. So I think we need to go in that direction. And therefore, we need to develop that expertise in the new NIPDB if there's going to be one. Okay, I'm getting to the end here. Okay, I've tried to be as positive as I can. Yeah, I know. This is me on a good day. But I spend my time reading through government documents. It's a sad existence. But someone's got to do it, because I don't even believe that politicians read their own documents. But there is no mention of the investment climate in Namibia in any of the key documents. Really, do a word search. And that's the key issue. How can you avoid the key issue? Because you don't believe it is the key issue. So we haven't won that battle, or I haven't won that battle yet. And what's more, all the documents, I've been through the SWAPO manifesto, implementation plan, the NDP 6, they all say different things. And then the Minister of Mines and Energy comes out and says, well, he wants 51% Namibian ownership in the mining sector. NDP 6 says that's our starting point. It's not our starting point. There's only one company that has 50%, and that's NAMRA, and that's a very exceptional company. So our policy documents don't speak to reality. They all say different things, and one is left with the question, sorry to be so blunt, but who is in charge of economic policy in this country? I do not know the answer to that. Sorry to say NPC, as someone who was a loyal NPC employee for 4 years. I think what we need is a Minister of Investment Promotion who has power to streamline processes, take action, close down agencies, open up new agencies if necessary, with a prioritized list of reforms. That doesn't appear in any of these documents that I referred to. We need someone with real power. When the NIPDB was created 5 years ago, I thought, aha, finally, we're on the right track. We have an office in the office of the president. How much more powerful can an office be with the president's authority behind it? But no, it wasn't allowed to do what I hoped it would do. Look at policy, look at processes, look at bureaucracy, take an axe to a lot of things, streamline a lot of things, make sure it worked in favor of promoting investment. No, it just became another, one other stop shop, I'm afraid, without the authority and the power to actually make reforms. So I think we need to take a much more radical approach to investment promotion through this new minister, someone very, very senior who can bang tables and bang heads together and really get things moving. And that will involve some painful decisions, because you can't have economic reform without pain. It might mean closing down the NIPDB or creating a new NIPDB. It might mean getting rid of the EEC after how many years? When was the EEC formed? 1997, Employment Equity Commission. The Employment Services Act, all this bureaucracy, we're putting hurdle upon hurdle in the way of people employing Namibians. How does that help the poor? It doesn't. It just puts obstructions in the way. So That's all I've got to say today. Sorry if I've offended people. It's not personal. We need to be investing 3, 4, 5 times the amount we're investing at the moment. We're not going to do that with little incremental changes. I'm sorry to say, we need a big, bold approach. And on that happy note, I'll hand over to Harald.
Robin, your German is good enough. You can actually become a member of the Forum of German-speaking Namibians. I would also like to just make the point that all the non-German speakers here, you can become part of a group that we call Forum and Friends. We are being invited regularly to our seminars that we host, our meetings that we have. So the Forum of German Namibians sees itself as catalyst. We are not exclusive to German-speaking Namibians, only in terms of membership, yes. But in terms of participation, the wider audience like today is very much welcome. Big round of applause to Robin Sherborne. I must say this has been one of the more exciting graveyard sessions that I've had. At seminars normally after lunch, and it would have been after lunch now, 1:45. Normally people fall asleep. I think you captured the crowd. You captured the audience, and a job very well done. Thank you, Robin. Now, a question that was posed in the media the other day, and it was it was triggered by Robin because he talked about the future of the NIPDB. That was 2 weeks ago in the Namibian, or was it 8 days ago? I'm not sure. It was recently, it was in September. And then Pius Denaiski, the former ambassador of Namibia, also used the comment, is the NIPDB politically captured? Let's not answer that one now, but we will not refrain from putting these topics on the table. I think, as I said, Namibia's got a political maturity. The tonality has been very good today. We will carry on putting it like a famous newspaper that just turned 40 years old said, always says, still telling it like it is. I think that is something we need to be loyal to that concept. Thank you very much. We are almost there. Thank you for your patience. You've been a fantastic audience. Participation has been amazing. I think we've got consensus that we will carry on with a similar event early next year in March. We are definitely, as a committee, looking at points to ponder after this. We will have a short session where we take up certain promises that were made by certain institutions on when the capacity will be finally there. Not mentioning or not looking at people in particular, but we will hold you accountable. And I think that is part of our mandate, that we hold the institutions accountable. But thank you at this juncture to everybody for participating. We've now got a final commercial break. We've had V5 Digital sponsoring the streaming and the whole technical part of this. And without sponsors, events like this are not possible. So this is our first sponsor that will quickly have a commercial break. And then the second sponsor, Mr. Clemens von Dodera, will do a vote of thanks. Thank you, Mr. Armin Wieland from V5 Digital. Quickly introduce your company. Thank you for your patience. Commercial breaks are part of modern TV and also modern presentations. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Harald, and thank you for the FDN for the opportunity. So we are V5 Digital. My name is Armin Wieland, the founder. Many people know me. And really honored to be here. So a very quick commercial break. I don't want to talk too much about V5 Digital as such, but I would like to invite you to our V5 Africa Navigate AI Summit happening next week, Wednesday in Windhoek at the Opera House Village, or also actually live streamed over Zoom to a global audience. So just want to quickly run you through the program. So actually, it would be great to get at least 5 people in the room to sign up. There is a cost involved, unfortunately, but we believe it's a very relevant topic. Also relates to ease of doing business, because the AI wave is coming at us. And really, what we want to achieve with this summit is, how does AI actually fit into my strategy? So we are actually targeting, obviously, corporates and businesses as such. Which AI tools and strategies are worth my time and budget? Will AI kill creativity and make everything sound the same? How do I upskill myself and my team without falling behind? So We're just going to kind of go through, kind of browse through the page, because we literally have 1 minute left here, and I'm standing between you and your afternoon break or your braai. So I'm just going to go through the speakers. So Dave Duarte is extremely well known in the circles. So he will kind of open the conference, and we've got Debbie, he's a Namibian. Stephen is one of our team members flying in from the Netherlands. Then you've got yours truly. I'm going to talk about AI learning and how that reshapes the workforce. Then we've got Nita Shikongo. She will be driving us through the program. She'll be our host for the day. And then last but not least, we've got our own Jürgen Teichert, who will just kind of give us the latest hacks on using generative AI tools. So spots are limited. We still have a few left. And yeah, that's the end of my talk. It is in association and partnership with the Stellenbosch Business School and the Brief. But yeah, it would be great to get some of you involved. If you don't know where to go, just search V5 Africa, and it'll come up first, and just register there. And yeah, or you can just come to me afterwards, and then I'll just share some more about this amazing summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I've passed this on in my company to my younger partners, because I don't know what AI stands for. All I know, artificial intelligence. I think we've got enough artificial intelligence within some of our politicians worldwide. Maybe we should be addressing that, but that's another point. We are ready to close off. Thank you very much to everyone. And the vote of thanks will be done by Dr. Clemens von Doderer, the director of the Hans Seidel Stiftung here in Windhoek, our main partner, main sponsor who made this event possible. Thank you once again for your unwavering support, Clemens. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Are we still awake?
Yeah.
Very much so. I'm happy to see that. And I actually want to put a big thank you to all of you, because you're still here, you're still alive, still awake, still going strong. And I'm sure you will take quite a lot of information here from this event today for the weekend and beyond. Especially our speakers of today. Thank you so much for availing yourself. We all enjoy a good weekend, and we all have a good time at home with our families, I'm sure. And yet you are here to dedicate this morning and quite a good amount of time here to speak to this audience. Thanks to the invitation of the Forum German-Speaking Namibians. And it is a privilege, I think, also for the HSF, for the Hans Seidel Foundation, to assist organizations like the Forum to make an event like that possible. As you might know, the Hans Seidel Foundation is quite active in the economic policymaking space. We support partners like the Economic Association of Namibia. We're working closely with the NRPDB, hosting a number of conferences, including the last 3 editions of the Oil and Gas Conference, the first ever Green Hydrogen Conference in Southern Africa altogether in 2022, and the list goes on. Why? Because ultimately, my conviction is, as much as development cooperation is important, the whole idea of the development cooperation should be actually to do away with it. That a country actually is economically strong enough to sustain itself and to actually fund its own development programs and all of that, what is necessary to achieve a better life for every citizen in the country. And ultimately, that's why I think fora and platforms like this one here are critically important, because if we don't have that, we don't learn from each other, we don't grow as a nation, and ultimately have a better decision-making for a better future for every Namibian, for the country, and for the region at large. With that, thank you. Put your hands together for all the speakers. And continue putting your hands together for the forum. Thank you also to Harold and Benita for taking us through the program. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely afternoon, have a lovely weekend, and thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. 1 hour late. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll see you soon in March. Thank you very much. Thank you. Danke dir, Clemens. Danke dir. Super gemacht. Ja, vielen Dank, das war super interessant. Ja, muss ja erstmal alles verdauen.